If your camcorder requires either a tape or a DVD, you'll find a switch to lock and unlock and open the compartment where that goes. Gently slide the switch to the open position, and then follow the directions to insert the tape or disc. Then gently close the compartment door. The mechanism will take a few seconds to prepare the media to be recorded on. The on-off button is also frequently used to select which mode you want the camera in. Take a look on your camera, but typically it'll look like one of these. You can select between turning the camera on to the movie record mode, symbolized by this little movie camera icon, the photo mode, symbolized by this small camera icon, or to a playback mode or VTR mode. To record video, use the camcorder in the movie record mode. Your viewfinder or LCD will come to life. Recording is achieved by pressing the record button, which can sometimes be located in the center of the mode dial, or it could be a separate button altogether. Remember, it'll take between half a second and sometimes a second or two or more for the camera to begin recording. You'll know it's recording when you see an indication in the viewfinder or LCD. Get to know your camcorder's start time so you won't miss any moments. To end recording, you can press exactly the same button. Still images are recorded in the same fashion, but this time you'll select the photo icon. Mini DV cameras and others will want to record those images to a flash memory card, like an SD card or memory stick in the case of Sony camcorders. If your camera requires a flash memory card, you can locate the place to put it in your manual. But we found them located in these positions on the cameras that we bought. Check there first. Most of today's camcorders will have two different ways to view what you're recording. Typically, the camera has a viewfinder located on the back of the camera and an LCD monitor that'll pop out to the side or the top of the camcorder. We recommend in bright sunlight and in shooting situations where the LCD might be washed out by the sun, you use the viewfinder. In other situations, say when the camera is on a tripod, you can use the LCD monitor. Professional camera operators will almost always use their viewfinder because it gives them a shot that's much more steady. Pressing the viewfinder up to your eye and keeping your elbows in tight to your body, as we're doing here, will help you keep the camera as steady as possible and allow you to get better video. Here's an example for you. The video on the left was shot with the camera operator using the LCD monitor to view her shots, while on the right, the camera operator used the viewfinder. There's a fair amount of improvement in the shot on the right. Practice makes perfect, so try holding the camera as we've shown you to get the shot as still as you can. All of today's cameras will have a zoom control, typically positioned so you can use your thumb or fingers of your right hand to zoom in and out. Pressing the zoom on the T, which stands for telephoto, means you'll zoom your lens in as close as possible to your subject. The W, which stands for wide, will zoom your camera out to as wide as possible. Here's an example of the same shot with the camera zoomed in all the way and all the way out. In the viewfinder or on the LCD, you'll usually see where in the range you are when you operate the control. This is a good tool to use as you'll know when you're zooming and how much of the range is left. Now, a word about a feature called digital zoom. Many cameras will also have a digital zoom, which will allow you to have the camera zoom even closer to the subject. This one, for example, will zoom into an incredible 800%. Digital zooms, in our opinion, is a marketing tool and should never be used in day-to-day shooting. There are a couple of reasons for this, which we can best demonstrate with an example. Here's a shot with the camera as wide as possible. Now we'll start zooming in. I'm going to stop here, which is the end of the camera's optical zoom. In other words, this is as close as the camera will go, using the lens alone to zoom into the subject. Now we'll continue to zoom in using the digital zoom. You can tell the picture quality has changed a little. It's a little more digital in look. In fact, as you get to the end of the zoom, the image is so pixely, it's impossible to tell what you're looking at. At the same time, the picture is shaking really violently. We're taking this shot on a very expensive and steady tripod, far more expensive and, trust me, much heavier than you'll want to carry. It's still impossible for it to hold the camera steady enough to get the shot. Here's a second example where the camera is being zoomed in while handheld. It's not long into the zoom that the picture becomes unusable. So to conclude, we recommend you leave the digital zoom turned off and use the optical zoom only. Even the optical zoom can be tough to hold steady, so we recommend you first walk as close to your subject as possible, and then use the zoom to compose your shot. If you must use the extreme side of the zoom, try and use a tripod, a monopod, or a Steadicam device to hold your camera. Some cameras will have an autofocus switch near the front of the camcorder lens. You can select from auto to manual. Manual focus, if your camera came with it, allows you to turn the focus ring on the lens to set your own focus. This can be really useful in low light or in situations where contrast of the image is low, which is how autofocus works. If you can choose between auto and manual, you might consider using manual. Professional camera operators will always use manual focus. The trick is knowing how it works. If you select manual focus, you can zoom the camera into your subject as close as the optical zoom will go. Then focus using the focus ring or press the auto button, which will set the focus. Then switch it back to manual. Then you can zoom out and compose your shot. The shot will remain in focus even if your subject moves a little. Overall, this will improve your shooting because it will prevent focus hunting, which can completely ruin a shot. Focus hunting occurs when the camera tries to refocus when using the autofocus system. All digital camcorders will have a menu button. When you press it, it'll display the camera's menu system. Most camcorders will have a few menus to allow you to make some changes to your camera. To turn off the menu, press the menu button again. On the bottom of the camera, you'll find a hole with a screw thread. This is the tripod mounting hole. And while it might appear obvious, I wanted to point out the importance of a tripod in video recording. We'll go into tripods and other mounting accessories later in the DVD. Some camcorders will also have a hot shoe. And some of those will even have something called a smart hot shoe, which allows you to install devices that are triggered by the camera's menus and on-off settings and record settings. Take a look at your manual and see whether your hot shoe is a smart hot shoe or a regular one, but it allows you to put things like this microphone or this light. To keep your camcorder clean, we recommend wiping it with a damp cloth. Damp, okay? Not wet. You can keep the LCD screen clean using a damp cloth. Do not use a damp cloth on the lens. Always use a soft, dry cloth to keep the lens clean. You can also use a little lens cleaning fluid on your lens to wipe off any dirt, dust, or watermarks. Your local camera dealer will have what you need. There might be some other controls on your camcorder that we've not covered on this brief tour. So check out your camcorder's manual for more information.